just here in the car, and Alan has brought along a shell from a Maxim pom-pom. Maxim is the brand name that made the cannons and the various artillery pieces. This is to clarify a bit because I'm a bit confused. So I thought a Maxim was like a primitive Gatling gun, which can be kind of true as I understand it. Remember when we went to Butter's Koppie and they said he had a Maxim up there? That is a portable sort of primitive machine gun, whereas this is what they had on Monument Hill when we heard that the Irishman spiked the gun and for his efforts won the VC and lost his life. This is what that would have been firing. It's formidable. It's fairly heavy. Does it explode when it lands, Alan?
Yes.
It's got, right, it's got a hollow, maybe there's an explosive tip or something. But yeah, this is formidable, and I'm holding a pom-pom shell. Pom-pom is just the name it made when it was fired. Pom-pom-pom-pom-pom-pom-pom-pom. Pom-pom-pom-pom-pom-pom-pom-pom. Colin, who's runs his own. Total Walks, I love that logo. This is his landy that he gets around in. He's a bit of an expert on Diamond Hill that we saw a couple of days ago. He knows all the gun placements. Love this landy. But anyway, we're looking for the Battle of Rhenoster Kop, which is one of my favourites. It's top 5 that I asked Alan if we could see it. Of course, a rhenoster is a rhinoceros. But this was a big engagement for the Australians and New Zealanders, Victorians, West Australians.
Just to give you a perspective.
Nice thick book.
This is where we are here. In this area here. Okay, so this is where the actual battle was. So, from the sketch of Lieutenant Arthur Bailey,
I see, yes.
that's that hill over there.
With the towers on top.
Yeah.
You're right. Okay.
And the best view you can get is actually from the top of the land. Because behind the houses over here, and you'll start to see, we're going to drive back and then turn into the township and go down the track, and you'll see the first of the where the ZARPS were.
Okay.
And where the ZARPS opened fire onto this flat land, this was where the Australians were pinned down.
So we were heading that direction.
Basically heading in that direction.
With the New Zealanders.
New Zealanders and Australians. Yeah.
Right.
The Victoria Goose. And the Munsters and the Rileys, the West Ridings, were basically just over that crest, attacking in that direction.
Right.
And the Australians came up from here to advance up to Rhenoster Kop. But they seen that the Munsters were in, the West Ridings were in big trouble over there. But they could see also that fighting General Buller with his Pretoria Boxburg Commando was firing over them from this direction. And I know it's difficult to imagine at the minute with the building, it's a clearer view. In this area here, roughly up to where that cow, see the cow over there?
Yep.
The British had 2 15-pounders on this side, and then they had 2 15-pounders on that side.
And what were the Boers throwing at them? Crop guns?
Boers had a 75mm crop that was coming from Mule's direction over there. That's why the Queen's Victorian Bushmen came up in this direction to try and take that fire. And they did actually force the 75mm back into the sort of rocks that were behind that area.
Right, brilliant.
The British also had a 5-inch naval gun further up the crest, 7,500 metres range, which was trying to target the crop as well. But as you can see here, there's no cover.
Oh.
No cover at all here. So the Australians basically dug trenches into here, and they were here for 13.5 hours.
The hot sun.
In the hot sun. Yeah.
Hard ground too.
And then they dug in overnight, they dug in trenches just to take cover. And then in the morning, they rose up very early in the morning, about 3 o'clock, and they advanced, and that's when they discovered that the Boers had disappeared, which they did very effectively all the time.
Yep, that would really annoy you.
Yeah, I mean, I know Alan took you to Diamond Hill, and it's the same there, although it's much rockier outcrop. To imagine how you can remove 6,000 men overnight without making a sound, it's actually genius, you know.
Yeah,
the way that
yeah,
you
yeah.
can do it. Because you would have expected to hear some noise, whether it's the oxen taking the guns away or just the actual the foot movement.
Remember that oxen making a noise yesterday in the
Yeah, he was brilliant.
Where did you go yesterday?
waterfall?
Oh,
a
nice.
couple of oxen, they were very friendly.
Yeah,
But they're big beasts.
they are.
I don't think we have oxen at home. I've never seen one anyway.
No.
So in this action there was a colonel or a fairly senior guy who got shot and stood up and
Yeah. So we'll go down to that area down, which is sort of more in the dip.
yes.
It's where we met. Dip down there because that's from the West Ridings. We'll go down to that area where he was roughly shot.
So the area of this battlefield was how big? I mean, you
The Boer front line was 6.8 kilometres, roughly 4 miles, stretching from the sort of crest of that hill up and down to that hill. So Benville Union's headquarters were up over on the left here, and then they were swinging down to that area over there.
And were they on top of that ridge where those
Not that
towers
we
are?
know.
Okay.
We think they were at the bottom of the ridge because there's Benville Union states in his diary that he actually was at the bottom of the ridge running back and forward on his horse to get the guys.
Yeah, rev them up.
Rev them up, because he knew it wasn't going to be a long battle. It was mainly a case of stand their ground, hit as many casualties as they can on the Commonwealth
And
side,
most of the casualties were artillery shells.
most of the casualties were the West Riding and the Munsters. There was 22 killed in the battle. There was 2 Australians killed in the battle. The 22 from the...
And the Munsters, was that rifle fire?
Yeah. We'll go down to the area where they came under fire from the Johannesburg Commando, which was Benville Union's brother.
Alright.
the size of the two forces.
2,500 of the British.
Yes.
And Villiers' force is recorded as 1,200, but he states that he only had 500 troops here.
Yeah.
So this is sort of hallowed ground for the Australians and the New Zealanders.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, how there was so few casualties again is a miracle. It's open. It's almost a killing field.
It's a bit of a privilege, and actually I was going to get the zoom out and look at those ridges where those satellite towers are, but we don't need to because we think the Boers are at the base of that. So is that what they would call a Rhenoster Kop, that hill?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Because so Puller's brigade was going to be pushing southeast because he had Littleton was actually coming from slightly to the right of the copy. So they were going to try and do a pincer movement to capture the Boers.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's fantastic.
And the Brits had advanced from where? Because there's nothing there.
No, that's not so. After Colin was up north of Victoria, up to this sort of area here. So he was basically based at the Stevegans and then they'd advanced from here and they camped overnight at Hartbeersfontein, which is basically the farm over in that direction. But they'd been in this area for roughly 3 months, using it as a base. Because the whole idea was to try and keep the Boers away from Pretoria. Because it was still, you know, from Diamond Hill right up to November for Rhenoster Kop, there was constant skirmishes within this area. Balmoral, Witpoort, Tierfontein. So Benville was terrorising this area. So Colin was given the task to get Bohien away from here. Oh yeah, yeah.
That's what they call a. I don't think he said it. I think he said an informal settlement, not an illegal settlement. But there's all these huts all over there. And Africans just set up camp and start bringing in corrugated iron and steel, window frames, doors, and start building settlements because they got nowhere else to go in this country. I don't know. The country's totally unorganised. And as I said to Alan before, there's big signs on the side of the road, like we might have a sign for warning of kangaroos. They've got a sign warning of hijack hotspots. Well, if you know your cars are being hijacked there, why don't you send police to hide and catch these guys? Anyway, that's it seems obvious to me, but anyway, this is a tough country, you know. Today I'm finding it a bit hard going, but it's a tough country. So we're just on the edge of the township there, and Colin has brought us to this spot where the ZARPS operated. This is Zuid-Afrikaanse Republic Police, but they were artillery. Remember, we saw them at the Battle of Bergendal, and I just asked Colin, they were the same outfit. I'm trying to see where we might have been before, but these are massive rocks, aren't they? Look at that one just balancing there. Very impressive. People friendly enough were waving, but you just wonder whether one of them's ringing a friend at a mobile saying, get down here quick, there's 2 cars with Europeans. But, well, we hope not. Colin's whistling, he's not concerned. Some viewing platform here. Were we over there? That's where we were. Over there.
So these 2 ridges over here.
Oh yeah.
Those were held by the Johannesburg Commando.
Oh.
The area we're standing in was held by the ZARPS that came forward in advance. This is an old Matabala tribe sort of praying area, and they continue on up to the hills before they moved up to the Zimbabwe area. Yeah. So they provided natural defence. So the West Ridings came over the crest, down into this valley, and came under intense fire from the Johannesburgers. Colonel Lloyd was basically killed over within that area over there, just before he got to the large boulders on the top of the right hand side.
Ah, yeah.
The South Australians were tasked. Captain Wilson was given an order at 5 o'clock in the morning to try and take pressure off the West Ridings and the Munsters to attack this area. At that time there was long grass in this area, so the Australians, from their heritage of being in the bush, actually dismounted on the hill and then crawled through here in the darkness. And they got to within 70 yards of here, and then the ZARPS heard something and they started opening up. So then Captain Wilson was then pinned down here for 30 minutes. So it was almost a stalemate. The small copy over that you see in the far distance there, So General Benvillion had set up a heliograph in there to communicate with his headquarters at Rhenoster Kop and also with General Muller over on the left hand side.
Yeah, I just realised where we are.
Yeah,
It's Rhenoster Kop again.
that's it. So coming from the southeast direction, this is what they faced.
Yeah. Right.
So that you've got the small copy,
Yeah.
and then the sort of longer one. In between that valley was where the Boers had their 75mm crop, and then on this ridge up here they had 2 pom-poms.
Where were the pom-poms?
Oh, just over there, behind that ridge over there. So if there used to be a track you could get down, which basically where they stored the ammunition, etc. There's a little river down there where the Boers held their horses.
They sort of had the British in a circle.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, they were very good at that. I mean, this land was perfect to defend and horrible to attack. I mean, the rule of attacking tells you that you needed minimum 3 times the force. In a situation like this, you're looking at 5 times the force you would need to be successful.
The British were coming left to right.
We're coming from this direction. We were over there. That was the southeast. To meet up with Littleton, who was coming from the Broncos side point. And that was going to be the pincer movement that never happened.
Littleton, who's coming from here?
Plymouth.
Plymouth.
It wasn't a Paul.
Alright. The Battle of Rhenoster Kop in this excerpt from Johnny Boer is recorded from Lieutenant Arthur Bailey of the 4th Queensland Imperial Bushman Contingent. Quote, the 29th of November, Thursday, you may be sure we left punctually, shifting a mile behind a copy. As Quartermaster Sergeant, I'm not in the fighting line now, but can go where I please as soon as my work is done. In this case, the Queensland Imperial Bushmen got up to 125 yards of the Boers and could neither get on or back. It was impossible to reach them, so I went with the guns. The following account is partly what I could see and partly what I was told. The 2 big naval guns were 7,000 yards away. Our men had to advance over perfectly open country to the top of the downs, then about 125 yards the other side in a kind of crater with big rocks the size of houses around the top. A naturally strong position. It was here the Boers were. Bill Jean Fillion, the Boer commander, sent word to General Plumer to come on with his Australians, as he was ready with them. At 4 a.m. the troops moved out, the Queensland Imperial Bushmen being advance guard and right flankers, riding in open order. For about 3 miles they could see the Boers on the skyline. Suddenly a shell fell fair in No. 1 Division F, quickly followed by 3 more. No one was hurt. The men moved as on parade. They then dismounted and the Boer gun retired. Meanwhile, the infantry advanced on the right with 2 15-pounders. Again, there was some splendid work. The guns galloped ahead and put in 8 rounds of case shot at 700 yards, then limbered up and retired again. This gave the infantry the opportunity to advance. They were driven back. The guns again fired and the Munsters charged, taking the first Boer trench. But there they were, and there they had to stay all day. The fire of the Boer Maxims and rifles being too deadly. Colonel Lloyd was wounded but managed to lead on for 40 yards when he was shot down again mortally. Lieutenant Colonel George Evan Lloyd, 1st West Riding Regiment, killed at Rhenoster Kop, the 29th of November 1900. The Queensland Imperial Bushmen, as I said, dismounted and advanced on foot under a terrible fire. The New Zealanders here lost 6 men until they reached a point near the skyline where they could crawl on hands and knees, and then by wriggling on their stomachs they could just see over the summit where the Boers were posted behind rocks. The position was maintained until dark. F Company alone fired 4,000 rounds. The noise was deafening. Our line was about 5 miles long. The Boers outnumbered us. We were expecting General Littleton to come up. At sundown, the transport advanced to within 300 yards of the firing line when the Boers on the right tried to rush us, but we could not face the shells of the 4 guns. The big naval gun fired 192 rounds. The battery on their left expended all their ammunition. At sundown, G Company came to camp and got rations. The men were dead beat. They had just time to get shovels and picks and make trenches when they had to relieve the other companies. When they went, the Boers brought up a gun and a pom-pom. For a few moments, the battle hung in the balance. Our men poured in volley after volley and just saved our guns, but it was touch and go. G Company wriggled forwards until they could hear the Boer rifles click, click, click. Here they dug 2 trenches under fire till 11 p.m. when the Boers apparently left. Our losses were 8 officers and 55 men killed and wounded. The Boers lost heavily, as we could see from the blood on the rocks, also 7 dead ponies. 1 officer shot through the lungs. Our ambulance tried to reach 5 times under the Red Cross flag, but the fire was too heavy. For the last 3 days there's been heavy firing in the distance, so we hope the Boers are getting fits.
I just want to go in the reconnaissance that road there, and then the next one is over by the school. This is a road that does take you up there up to where
to really concentrate. The zoom on, because I can't see through the viewfinder with the glare behind me. It's at my back. But anyway, what I think we heard. But the British were going to be encircled with Boer guns and commandos, but these rocks are brilliant, aren't they? Apparently the Matabele, before they went to what's now Zimbabwe, liked this area as a defensive area.
Okay, Judy, I think we're going to go.
Yeah,
Okay.